Lesotho versus Burundi. Known as the Kingdom of the Sky, the often less talked about Lesotho is yet known for its breathtaking scenery, which includes snow-capped mountain ranges during the winter. Lesotho is home to the Seychelles National Park in Maloti Mountains, which sits at the heart of the country and boasts rich plant, animal and bird life. The country boasts of the rarest of bird species such as the bearded vulture. This stunningly beautiful mountainous kingdom is landlocked within southern Africa, entirely surrounded by South Africa. Contrary to popular belief, Lesotho is not a kingdom but actually a democracy. Lesotho is a democratic, sovereign and independent country with the unique characteristics of being totally surrounded by its neighbor, the Republic of South Africa. The country, which was formerly known as Basutoland, was renamed to the Kingdom of Lesotho upon independence from the UK in 1966, but constitutionally functioned as a country. However, in Lesotho, a massive 75% of the population live in rural areas. More than half of these people are deemed to be poor, and around 30% are living in extreme poverty. Burundi is another Eastern African country with fantastic natural beauty, with many national parks and with lots of wildlife. There are many sightseeing spots worth visiting while in Burundi. The country claimed independence on 1st July 1962 and legally changed its name from Rwanda-Urundi to Burundi. Burundi is also an extremely poor country, one of the poorest both in Africa and the world at large. And the irony is that it has vast resources of copper, cobalt, nickel, feldspar, phosphate, rock, quartzites and rare reserves of uranium and vanadium. The country is also a producer of limestone, peat, sand and gravel for domestic consumption and as a building material. Burundi is home to more than 10 thermal water sites around the country, although not all of the sites are operational. Considered therapy, these thermal water sites are visited by many people who claim to be suffering from rheumatism. For tourists, it is therapy as well as a great place to swim. These are two Eastern African nations we're going to put to a duel in this video in view of their attributes, economy and touristic appeal. These nations in their own right are worth bringing to parity and contest. So before we reveal which country is bigger in size, better in geography, economy, infrastructure and quality of life, take a second to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification icon to get notified on our new uploads. It's Lesotho versus Burundi. Showdown time. Kicking off with geography. It's common knowledge that the larger a country is, the more accommodation it can provide for citizens, as well as the more it can afford to host flora and fauna, which makes for a good biosphere. Actually, both of these nations are small in size compared to their neighbors, but Lesotho is much larger in total surface area than Burundi. Putting figures to light, Lesotho has a total surface area of 30,355 square kilometers, while Burundi has a total surface area of 27,830 square kilometers. Having such a vast expanse of land, 1.5% of Lesotho's total land mass is occupied by forest, while up to 6.6% of Burundi's total land mass is made of forest. So both nations have very little forest, but Burundi wins this round as it uses up more land for natural forest than Lesotho. African countries are by default known for their agricultural prowess. These two countries are not an exception. When it comes to agriculture, Lesotho makes up 76.1% of its land surface for agriculture and pasture, while Burundi uses 73.3% of land dedicated to agriculture. Now let's consider their demographics. Lesotho has a small population of just over 2 million people. The country is plagued by high infant mortality rates of 8.3% and very high HIV and AIDS rates. That said, Lesotho is one of the most exploited victims of the said pandemic. The HIV prevalence of the country is around 24%, which is one of the highest in the world. Around half of the women under 40 have HIV in urban areas, and the country has a life expectancy of just 42 years. Whereas Burundi is a much larger nation than Lesotho, with a total population of over 11 million people. Unlike Lesotho, Burundi is not plagued by HIV and AIDS with a tidal prevalence, but due to the extreme poverty of the nation, the living conditions of the people are almost equivalent to Lesotho being plagued by the pandemic. Lesotho has a population density of 75 people per square kilometer, while Burundi has an overwhelming population density of 401.6 people per square kilometer, which makes it the second most densely populated country in sub-Saharan Africa. This population density tends to grow over time, as with other countries. Lesotho has a small population growth rate than Burundi, and this is evident by its decreasing growth rate of 0.24%, while Burundi has a greater growth rate of 3.23%. Burundi equally has a higher life expectancy of 61.4 years than Lesotho, with a life expectancy of 52 years at birth. Economy. The economy of any country represents the large set of interrelated production and consumption activities that aid in determining how scarce resources are allocated. As such, the production and consumption of goods and services in an economy are used to fulfill the needs of those living and operating within it. If a country has higher GDP over another, with other parameters, physical and climatic, being at par, that would imply that such a country is producing more goods and services, and therefore consumers can enjoy more goods and services in that region. Lesotho has a gross domestic product of $6.66 billion, while that of Burundi is $8.38 billion. Both these countries have considerable public debts. What is known as public debt or national debt refers to the sum of all government borrowings owed to lenders within the country. Lesotho has a public debt of over 33.7% of its gross domestic product. Meanwhile, of Burundi's GDP, 51.7% consists of public debt. So far, Burundi is the winning team. The economy is also influenced by high unemployment rates of each country. Low unemployment rates indicate more suitable career options and economic growth as opposed to high unemployment economies. Both these countries have very high unemployment rates of over 28%. Inflation rates also determine the trend in the economy. It depicts the annual price increase for goods and services, indicating a decrease in the purchasing power parity of a country's currency. In Lesotho, inflation rates stand at 5.3% annually, while in Burundi, inflation rates goes up as high as 16.6%. Talking about infrastructure. The infrastructure represents the physical and digital systems on which a country thrives. Road infrastructure, for example, is very important for ensuring smooth running of a country's economy and living standards. The total length of a country's paved and unpaved roads reveal her roadway infrastructure. Both Lesotho and Burundi have very poor and inadequate road infrastructure, leading to poverty as the economy suffers. Lesotho has a total paved and unpaved road system of 5,940 kilometers, while Burundi has a roadway infrastructure of 12,322 kilometers. In Lesotho, just 29.7% of the population benefit from electrification, while it gets even worse for Burundi, with just 7.6% of its population exposed to electrification. Both of these countries have a poor road network. One other major infrastructural factor in any given country are the number of airports it has. Airports are major transportation hubs which can boost tourism to great deals, national and international trade, and bring in revenue to the country's GDP. Lesotho has 24 airports, while Burundi has even fewer airports, 7 to be precise. It goes without saying that digitization is a cornerstone for modernization. The number of citizens in a country having direct or indirect access to the internet indicates how well developed the internet infrastructure of that country is. 27.4% of Lesotho's population have access to high-speed internet services, and just 5.2% of Burundi's population benefit from the internet service in the country. In this round, Lesotho emerges winner. Standard of living. The degree of wealth and material comfort available to a person or community, as well as the quantity and quality of material goods and services available to a given population within a confined territory, is generally regarded as a standard of living. Developed countries having a well-structured economy, infrastructure, healthcare, and education system will naturally tend to have a higher standard of living as compared to underdeveloped countries. When looking at the standard of living, factors such as healthcare access, poverty rate, clean water sources, and education availability are some of the considerations made. Considering the poverty rate, in Lesotho, 57% of the population live below the poverty line, while over as much as 64.6% of the population of Burundi live below the poverty line. Both countries have a poor public healthcare system, as majority of the population struggle to get good quality healthcare. Clean and potable water, as with many other African countries, is quite not accessible by the population, either due to scarcity or poor water treatment infrastructure. In Lesotho, just 81.8% of the population have access to clean potable drinking water, whereas in Burundi, it gets even worse because the available population exposed to clean and potable drinking water is 75.9%. Conclusively, Lesotho and Burundi are two prominent Eastern African countries, which, although are plagued by natural and economic disasters, offer beautiful adventures for tourists. Although we've put both nations to the door, It's highly subjective to decide which is better to live in or visit on vacation. The statistics, however, reveal their individual strengths and weaknesses. In the end, it's up to you to decide which country you deem more praiseworthy, perhaps on your next vacation. Thanks for watching, and please hit that like button and also subscribe in order not to miss out on any of our future uploads. So go on, subscribe. 10 years of good luck await.